You know, what was it like for you growing up as a child? I mean, what was it like coming up as a child? You know.
Well, I kind of had my childhood was kind of a hybrid upbringing. I grew up, my adolescent part of my life was in Kenilworth. I grew up in Kenilworth, which is in the northeast quadrant of DC. My dad lived in Mayfair, and my grandmother lived actually in Kenilworth. So I grew up in a, I guess, the projects. So I was there for probably a good 7 to 10 years of my life.
Your childhood, yeah.
In my childhood years in the Kenilworth area.
Right.
And then I transitioned. My dad moved to Montgomery County.
Okay.
Roughly when I was around 8 or 9,
right.
something like that. We moved out to Montgomery County, and then I got a chance to experience the suburb life.
Right.
You know, I started befriending Asian people, you know, and
yeah.
white boys, and you know, so I got a chance to listen to rock music and learning karate and kung fu, because I had a couple of Asian friends. You know, remember that?
Yeah.
You know, my father had gotten into
black belts,
the karate and all that stuff. So, so that was I got a chance to get a better. I diversified my portfolio of friends.
Yeah.
So I got a different. Yeah. So the culture in Montgomery County versus the city,
mm-hmm.
and particularly the projects, was totally different. Mm-hmm. They spoke different. The culture was musically, from the education standpoint, it was all different. Mm-hmm. So, but it was kind of rough a little bit because I came from the projects, mm-hmm. got out there, I had to learn and adapt to the culture out there.
Right.
But then I still would go back to the projects, you know, because my grandmother was over there, and I would go over there for the summer and hang out. And then it was the culture clash, because I started adopting the suburb life. Okay. And I would come back over in Kenilworth, and they would call me white boy, and you know, because I spoke proper, and they wouldn't interact with me as much, and so it was a rather difficult but
interesting upbringing. I mean,
it was interesting. It was interesting, but the one thing that I was able to mesh with both my project life and my suburb life was music. Music was the nucleus.
That's the common.
Yeah. So that was one thing that, because of my ability and my learning from my dad, you know, the different styles of music, I was able to use that as a means to enjoy times with not only my friends in Montgomery County, but my friends in Kenilworth. Okay, so, but it was cool, you know what I mean? It was real cool, you know, and I learned a lot, you know, just being able to, being in those different environments, because they were like night and day, you know what I mean? So, I think overall I had a really, really good childhood. You know, my pops raised me, and I had a good, I guess for lack of better words, I just had a good adolescent life. So that's about all I can summarize on my childhood. You know, and as I think the other thing that was a big part of my childhood, I mentioned music, but as you are aware, I started getting into roller skating.
Right.
That was a big part of my childhood, and it was something that I didn't like.
You didn't like skating?
I didn't like skating. My father had taken me to Calorama skating rink one day, and it was on a crowded night, and I just kept falling and falling and falling, and I just told him I don't want to go skate anymore. I didn't like it.
Right.
So, and I kind of want to get into I'll talk a little bit more when you get into the segue of skating, because I kind of want to get into how I started liking skating, you know, and how I actually, what was the catalyst to me having a change of heart and wanting to roller skate.
Right.
You know, so I can talk about that now, or unless we get into a segment.
Slow down, D. Slow down.
Yeah. That's why I said I could bring that up, but I figured this is just more about my childhood.
Yeah, we get to it. Slow down, D. Slow down.
You know what I mean?
That's cool, man. That's cool. You had a great upbringing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Father, your mother, you had both parents. Household now, you definitely had both parents in your life.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yes, I did. My mom, my dad were in my life. My dad raised me, but my mom was around in my life as well. But yeah, absolutely. You know, I had both moms and pops, so I'm still blessed to have them today. So, you know, I'm definitely happy and was blessed to be able to have them in my life, especially as we growing up from the adolescent to until today.
Right.
You know, absolutely on that one.
All right, so take me back with a time, you know, you could describe when you was in high school. You got any memories of just, you know, being in high school in Montgomery County?
Oh man, probably some of the couple of good times we had in high school was a couple of things. One, we used to have this talent show called Coffee House.
Okay.
And in Coffee House, it was a talent show. So the school, different school students, they would come up and they would display their talent, whether it was comedy, whether it was music, or whatever. It was.
And you called it Coffee House.
Called a Coffee House.
Okay.
It was kind of like the show that they have on in New York. I forget the name of the show, but anyway.
Who's Got Talent? Is that what it is?
No. The show where I think Martin was the host on it, and they had everybody that showed their talent.
Okay.
Anyway, but it was called Coffee House. So that was an opportunity we did every year. It was fun, and at that time I was really into DJing, like straight DJing, hip hop. And I remember I went to perform, and I was DJing, and my boy Dwayne, we had a group. He was called the Superstar Deal, and I was his DJ, and we had dances. We had a couple of dances. My man Chris Turner and Tony Strickland, they were dancers. I think they were dancers. Yeah, they was dancers for us, and man, we was about to perform one day. We was about to perform, and right before we was about to go on stage, my stomach started hurting. I got nervous and I threw up. I was nervous, but I got it out of my system, and then got on stage and I started. You know, Dwayne called me out to do an introduction. I started scratching, and they started going off, and it turned out to be a great event. But it was a memorable time in high school, and another one was I would sit at the lunch table, and there was this guy named Scott, and he and I we used to joan on each other. During lunch,
DJ D joning?
We was joning, we was joning at the lunch table, and then Big D would come up to the lunch table and just sit with us.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Big D would come up because he would get off work early,
right.
And so he would just pop up at the school.
Okay.
And he'd come up there and just sit with us at the lunch table, and the security, the school security thought he was a student. And they said, you got to go to class. He said, this is my son. Because he was just so cool like that. Pops was just so cool like that He would sit with us, and he looked young, you know, and he would just sit with us like he was one of the homies.
That's great.
You know what I mean? So he used to do that all the time. Man, we had a ball, man. We would have a ball up in the school cafeteria, but Jonah was Scott, and I think his last name was Webb. I think that was his last name. I can't remember, but anyway, I think that was his last name. But he, with him, Hank Jonah, with him in the cafeteria and the coffee house were probably the two memorable moments of high school, man. Oh my goodness. And well, one more, obviously, when I had my accident.
Okay. You want to talk about that?
Well,
a little bit.
It wasn't part of high school, but it was something that was a memorable time in my life.
Okay.
Where I was on my way. It happened when I was on my way to school.
Oh, see, I remember vaguely, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I was 15 and I was on my way to school. I was on a scooter, or 16.
Yeah.
And I was on my way to school, and it was raining, and I was going down a two-way street.
Slow down for 1 second. When you say you was on a scooter, we talking about a kick push scooter. We talking about a
motorized
250 elite.
The 250 elite.
Yeah.
The 250 elite.
Yeah, that was major back then.
That was major. Yeah. That was. It was automatic. No shifting gears.
Yeah, that 250.
You just hit the throttle, and that was it. And the brake.
You was on your way to school.
I was on my way to school, and I was going down a two-way street, and a car coming the opposite direction came across the double yellow lines and hit me head on. And I went, from what I was told, I went airbound, and my helmet hit her windshield. And then, of course, I fell off the car. And as a result of that accident, I suffered I had a compound fracture in my thigh. I broke my ankle. I broke my pelvis. And I had a bruised bladder. So I was
pretty banged up.
I was real banged up, and I ended up being in the hospital for probably close to a year before I was
recovering,
doing my recovery. Then I was in there close to a year, and then what was a big it was a very challenging moment in my life, and it was enlightening too. Was I had to go from riding going to school riding a scooter and riding on the bus to I had to get on the bus for handicapped people.
At a young age, I didn't know that.
Because I had to go to school in a wheelchair because I had a body cast on. I couldn't walk. So it was a very challenging time in my life, being a teenager and have to go to school in a wheelchair. And I used to play football in high school and everything. You go from that to being in a wheelchair was a really rough time. But my friends at school, they really supported me. It was a rough time for me, and I was very afraid. And I did that for 1 year. It was my 10th or 11th grade year that I went to school. It was my 11th grade year. I went to school in a wheelchair, and I got a chance to meet new friends that had multiple sclerosis and all kinds of deficiencies, and I learned a lot from them. And they were encouraging me, and some of them would never be able to walk.
And that's where next question I was going to ask you. Did the doctor say that to you, that it's a possibility that you would never walk again?
They did. They told me that I would not be able to walk again, and roller skating was
that was
just a
that was out of the question.
That was nowhere near the question. Right. So, but my father was behind me, and he supported me, and I went through a very rigorous physical therapy, and with some surgery and some hard work. I would say within about a year and a half, I was able to not only recover and walk again, but as you know, I can run, I can roller skate, So it was a rough journey, but I was able to triumph.
Yeah.
You know, through hard work, and it panned out. But anyway, I know I went off on a tangent about my accident.
Nah, that was
but it was relevant as it relates to part of
school,
going to high school, because it was a rough time for me.
Yeah, that's major. And I do recall a lot of it, because I was around you when they finally, even though you were in the wheelchair, your pops was still bringing you to the skate room.
Yeah, he was bringing.
And I remember, I think they cleared the floor when you finally put some skates back on.
Yeah, they did.
They cleared the floor and allowed you to come out there, you know, and because you had the love for skating, and like I said, the school supported you, your friends in school, but you still had a lot of support from the skate community.
Oh my God! You had a lot of support. I think that day when my father had told me I was so nervous to go out there and skate. Yeah. And I think you might have came out there, and Chris, just to kind of just support me when I went out there, because I think I fell.
Yeah, I don't call
but anyway, so my skate family was definitely there. Yeah. Definitely there. They supported me and interacted with me the entire time.
Right.
And if you remember, I was DJing there with a body cast on.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Pops got, Sam and Mark let me play.
Yeah.
They let me DJ with my father had to carry me up to the booth. He had to carry me up there, and I would DJ with a body cast on.
I remember him carrying you.
Yeah. He would carry me in, and I was DJing. It wasn't. I can't remember how long I was in the body cast DJing, but I mean, so I that's why I say that with the skating community supported me, and Sam and Mark, they were big supporters of me.
Right. And those were the managers at the skate rink.
Alexander, they were the two managers. Right. Yes,
two managers that ran that thing. Yeah. And my next question would segue right into it, because my question was going to be, can you describe to me? What was it like when you first picked up some turntables or picked up some albums and started, dilly-dallying with the turntables? So that's taking you back a little bit, but I know, it had to be, I guess, something that your pops introduced you to.
Yeah, music has been in my life since I was probably, I'm going to go back as far as maybe 5 or 6 years old. My father used to make what we call today mixtapes. He was making, mixtapes back then on the reel-to-reel.
Oh.
So I would be downstairs with him, like your son is with you down there, just flipping through records.
Okay.
And listening to the songs that he would play. Okay. And I had grown a desire to love music.
Right.
And then, of course, when my father was at work, and I was sneaking the music room, he would, don't you touch my stuff?
Yeah, don't
touch my stuff. So I would, when I knew he was gone.
Yeah.
Like he had a project where he was working in New York, so I knew he was gonna be gone for a weekend or days and stuff.
Yeah.
And I would go into the music room and I would start dibbling, dabbling with his turntables and stuff, and one day he found out, and of course he got mad, and then he said instead of getting mad,
I'm encouraging.
He encouraged me, and he showed me how to play on his equipment.
Wow.
Okay, and then that's how I learned the basic fundamentals of DJing through my pop.
Okay.
And then I started getting into. I met some friends from New York. DJing was big in New York. So when I was in high school, there was a couple of guys. A guy named Eddie. They called him Eddie B. and Garvin. Okay. So these were two guys. Both of them were from. One was from Jersey. I think Garvin's from Garvin's from New Jersey too. Okay. I think both of them were from Jersey. But anyway, I met them and this guy named Ben and Oliver. So we all love DJing.
Okay.
And but I started learning the art of scratching and mixing and stuff when I started interacting with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then the I would say the catalyst came was when for my birthday, my father, for my birthday, he bought this thing right here. I don't know if y'all can see this.
I think that one catch.
Okay.
Yeah.
This right here, y'all, for all you young DJs, okay, all you young cats, this is the catalyst right here. This is the start of DJ Derrick. This is called a Technics 1200.
This joke is heavy.
It's heavy, baby. It's
Yeah.
heavy. Yeah, that thing is heavy. So this here is what I use to start my DJing.
Wow.
Okay, and when I say this thing is so sweet, the Technics 1200 turntable was the choice turntable for all. I mean, I'm talking professional DJs. So this is what you had. If you had a Technics 1200 turntable, that's what you use. So once I got my Technics 1200, I'll end up getting another one over time. And at that point, that's when I started really DJing and having a love for it. And then one day, I was at the skating rink, and what was it, Jody? You remember Jody?
Remember Jody? Of course. Yeah.
So Jody used to have the matinee session on Saturday at Alexandria skating rink. So
what you mean she had it?
she was a DJ.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, Jody was the DJ.
You talk about the Jody that we all skate with?
Yeah, Jody DJ.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Jody used to DJ on Saturday. No, I want to say Saturday. Yeah, I think she DJ Saturday matinee.
Okay.
So Jody got pregnant.
Okay.
So once she was pregnant, she couldn't play.
Oh, wow.
So my father said, well, why don't you, I'll play.
Okay.
And what Pop did was he would go up there, he'd start it, and he'd let me play.
Yeah.
And he started letting me DJ, and then the people started saying, who's that DJ? And they was inquiring.
Yeah.
And they said, and he would tell them that's my son. And then lo and behold, Mark, who was one of the managers, had taken a chance. He said, well, my father said, well, that's my son. He was like, Mark thought it was me. I mean, my dad.
I was playing, right?
Yeah,
and everybody see him walking around.
Yeah,
Jersey.
Yeah.
Who up in the booth?
So that's Mark. When they say, well, who's playing? He said, that's my son. And Mark's mouth just dropped. So anyway, long story short,
wow.
Mark had, my father said, well, he can play if you like, for Jody.
Right.
And Jody co-signed it. Jody said, that's cool.
Right.
And I that's how I started. That's actually how I started DJing in the skating rink.
Wow.
Because Jody got pregnant, and I ended up taking over the Saturday matinee.
Yeah. As a child, though.
As a child, I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I was 12 years old at that time. So, and then as you know, it transitioned from playing the matinee to John. There was a DJ that played on Sunday named Johnny. And he had an adult night, which I think it was a 25 or 21 or 25.
21, yeah.
21 and over. But he had the adult night on Sunday. It was
adult.
packed.
Right.
And
packed those days was at least 400.
That's more than that.
Yeah. 400 is the minimum. Like that's 500 easy.
Yeah, 5 to 600 is a nice crowd back in those days.
Yeah, and that's a regular session. That ain't even a party.
That's a regular session. That's the party going to double that.
Yeah.
But Johnny had turned his whole life around. He had decided that he was no longer going to play secular music anymore. Okay. So there was an opening to play on Sunday. And Mark had convinced, had told Sam, because Sam was the manager on Sunday. Mark managed Saturday.
Oh, okay. Shared responsibility.
Shared responsibility. But anyway, long story short, I ended up taking over Sunday.
For Mark.
For Sam. Sam was the manager on Sunday, but I ended up taking over Sunday night at Alexandria when Johnny left.
For Johnny, right. That's
for Johnny, yeah. And the other DJs were very upset because they,
What, they thought there was a line for it to be?
Well, there was seniority. I mean, you had Joe, you had Rob, you had Richard. You had these guys were, I learned from them.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from them. I don't know. Well, Rob was kind of, he was kind of, he was younger than. So I would say probably the Joes, Richard, and of course Johnny.
Right.
So I think they kind of, I think Rob was playing with Joe at the time. But anyway, it was, they felt like, this is Sunday a kid.
Night, Sunday night.
This guy doesn't know. Yeah, why would you want a kid to play on a Sunday night for adults?
Right.
And at that time, I probably was, 14 years old, 13, 14 years old at that time. So it was quite a challenge, and it was quite it was a moment that I didn't think I could do. I was afraid because I'm like, man, I never played for adults, and stuff like that. But I accepted the challenge, and anyway, I started playing on Sunday, and I ended up being, sort of a child prodigy in the DJ realm.
Our household name at that time was Little Derrick.
Yeah.
DJ D hadn't arrived yet, so that was
DJ D hadn't arrived yet. It was just
Little Derrick,
DJ Little Derrick. You know what I mean? And that's when I transitioned to really DJing in the skating arena. Was when I took that Sunday night over.
Wow.
And from then outside of DJing at the skating rink, I used to DJ parties too. People probably didn't know that. Yeah, that's when the DJ D came in.
Right.
Okay, I started, DJing parties, and I used to play for, DJing for, like Corey. Remember Corey used to have the Helping Other Brothers, and I would DJ his parties and stuff, and I had some other gigs that I played, and I started doing that. And then once I learned how to scratch and mix, all right, man.
All right, slow down, dude. We had too much fun over this.
Oh man, that was on a whole nother level. Yeah, you catch with the computer, the Serato.
Yeah,
it's a whole different ball game when you're doing it on the analog, baby.
Yeah. We gonna get there. We gonna get to that. Dude.
Oh yeah.
We gonna get to the DJ D.
Yeah. DJ D is a whole different ball game, baby.
Right. So can you name some music that you and your pops introduced to the DMV skate world that's considered classics now to the day?
Absolutely. I'm gonna give you two, and these are probably the two songs that my father and I are most noted for. And the first one is this album right here. Put it real close there. Just so y'all young folks can show, how far I go back.
Wow.
Okay? This song here is called Fly on the Windscreen. You see, it's all this is the original album.
Wow.
This song was called Fly on the Windscreen. It's by a European group called Depeche Mode, and I got this record I used to be in a record pool, so we would get records from all over the world.
Right.
And so I had this song, and my father said, you know, we was listening to it one day, and my father said, "You should play that at the skater." I said, "Oh, no." Not this one, because they, you know, you got white people singing in it, you know, there's a fly. The people gonna laugh like, what is that? Yeah. Nobody played any music like this in the skating rink.
Right.
He said, "I'm telling you, man, play it." So on a Sunday night, I played this, and I played it for men only. And when I played it, no one came out. I mean, people were kind of, you know, you had the floor guards, everybody looking up, like, what is that?
Right.
And then my father went out there and he started skating, and Gerald came behind, followed him.
Yeah, he followed.
And Mary, I think it might have been Gerald, Mary, and they started rolling. And when they started rolling, it was just a ripple effect. Because my father's, you know, back then, you know, our pop, we rolled. They were snapping and all that. So my father went out there and Gerald went out there, and that, I mean, they rolled on that song, and everybody else started following suit. And from that day forward, this song had become one of the most requested, popular songs back in Alexandria.
And
so,
almost to the day, that was a classic right there. That's one. That's one. You're going to put out another one.
The second one, this one is another one. This one is very unique. Okay, so this is, you see, I don't even have the other side. Okay, I don't even have the other side of this album cover. Okay, this song is called Cannonball. It's by another European group called Supertramp. So they're kind of like Depeche Mode.
Right.
What was so unique about this song, though, was that on the turntable, you have two speeds, 33 and 45. You got two speeds that.
Yeah.
So the record would actually tell you the speed to play the song.
Right.
But with this song, usually your larger albums like this, you play at 33.
Right, 33.
And then you have your smaller records that you play at 45.
Right.
Well, this song was supposed to be played at 45, but I didn't know it. And when I played it, I kept it on 33. And I was in my house, and I was like, that thing said, da, 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 da. I was like, that thing is sick.
Yeah,
so, but I was playing on the wrong speed. And my boy had a buddy of mine, he used to take me to pick my records, this guy named DJ, and he was like, man, you need to play that at the rink, man. And when I had it on, I played this on Trio. I played this song on Trio, and when I put it on, I mean, everybody went off on that song.
Right.
So, and when I played it, if you notice, it's got scratches on it. See all the scratches?
Yeah.
Because I ain't want nobody to know. You know, the thing back in the day, you don't want nobody to know who the artist was.
Right.
Because the other DJs, they can come up in the booth.
Right.
You know, and look at your record. Right. So that's why I started being, this was my first means of being exclusive. You know, I use the word exclusive.
Yeah.
So my exclusivity was, I'm gonna scratch it off.
Right.
So when another DJ come up, they not gonna know who it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for a long time, I used to call it the country song. I'd be like, it's the country song, because Jerry say, put the country song on. And I would play it, but over time, I think some of the other DJs found out. And then they started playing it.
But that was a big thing in the 80s and the 90s or whatever. A lot of DJs did cover their records.
That's because you didn't want everybody playing.
Right.
That's made you exclusive.
Right.
Okay. So these were like my hidden gems. You know what I mean? So anyway, so those are probably the two biggest classics that came from my era of DJing. A lot of, just in case a lot of you cats didn't know that's in the skating community now, but yeah. Absolutely.
That's cool, man. So,
Yeah.
you know, I know at some point you got back to skating, and also DJing up Alexandria. You know, after the accident and all of that type of stuff. So, you got any memorable moment just being at the skate ring that you want to discuss, or you can remember just a moment, you know, whether it's trios or playing video games back in the day, or snack bar. It was a whole lot going on back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know,
couple skating and the young ladies that was there.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. That's real funny, but
yeah.
I mean, you know, of course, DJing. We've had that in and of itself. There's so many moments, but one that comes to mind is in that where in between the skate session, they had the matinee, and then they had the evening session. Okay, and what was the name of Smooth and Tasha's group?
Wheels of Fortune.
Wheels of Fortune.
Right.
So the Wheels of Fortune used to practice.
Okay.
In between
sessions.
Yes. And every so often they had two girls that would perform with them that was in the group. They didn't come all the time. And that was Trevette and Kenya. So they used to come and perform with the Wheels of Fortune. They were in the Wheels of Fortune.
They were part of the Wheels of Fortune.
They was in the Wheels of Fortune. And sometimes their mother would let them stay to skate if it was a holiday or something like that, and they would stay and skate.
Okay.
And I remember watching Trevette skate, and I was like, God,
who
damn!
that?
I said, who is that? You know, I said, man, she is mean.
Yeah.
You know, and I just fell in love with her.
Yeah.
You know, and instantly, and I remember I used to, you know, I would just be waiting, be so excited when they would come down. You know, because I would just, and Kenya could flow too. You know, but Trevette was just like on a whole nother level, and I was just hooked.
Right.
So that was a good memory. And the other one, which I hope I'm not segueing anything different, but one of the most enlightening moments for me was watching the how do I want to say it, the movement or the process of when with Jamie, it was a skater named Jamie.
Yeah.
Watching him go from a wild non-skater to probably one of the best skaters I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I can agree.
And that chronologic, is that how you do it? Chronology? I think that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, when he did that, when watching that was unbelievable. And I bring that up because you and I, you know, he couldn't outskate us back then.
No.
He was terrible.
Yeah, he had on rentals.
He used to work in the skate room and all that. Yeah. And then I remember he learned how to skate. He learned from Kevin. Remember Kevin used to work in the skate room?
Yeah. Dark-skinned
Kevin. Yeah. He started skating with him. And then he picked up on that. And then he started skating with Eric and Alfonso. You remember that? And then he started learning. He learned their style.
Right.
Okay. But I think he was doing everything they were doing.
Right.
But I think, because at that time they were the most popular style at Alexandria.
Right.
Because Caloran was still open, so Tracy and Curtis and them had started coming there. They hadn't come there yet. Right. So Eric and Alfonso and Troy and all them, that the jumping and the breaking down, that was it.
Right.
And Jamie picked that up.
Right.
But the catalyst to Jamie was when he did a 180 degree. Mm-hmm. He stopped skating with Eric and Alfonso. He started skating with my father.
Your father, yes, it did.
He started, and my father taught him elegance, taught him to be graceful with his style. Yeah. And he started, and when he started following my father, I remember people laughed at him. Yeah. I remember they laughed at him. They said, you know, because it went against the grain, because my father was an older skater, and like I said, the Calorama style wasn't there.
Alexander, right?
Yeah. Right. So when Jamie saw something in my father, he started following him, and he started doing the moves my father, the rock out, snaps and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, once he picked that up, and he actually intertwined his Alexander style with my father. Yeah. To me, a lot of people don't know him, but to me, he is the best skater I've ever seen. His style was so unique. It was a mix, mm-hmm. like, because he took Eric, he took Alfonso, he took Troy, he took all that, and then he mixed it. And he smoothed it out. And so he had Calorama in him, he had Forestville in him, and he had Alexandra all in one. And I don't know a skater today that has all that. Right. So watching him grow from being a non-skater to being the best skater I've ever seen in my era was mean. And I mean, it was just, a lot of people don't know that, and probably most people that are watching this now, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. Yeah. They have no idea who I'm talking about, but there'll be some people from Alexandria that know who I'm talking about. Yeah. I remember Jamie. Yeah. I hope you find some footage of him.
I wish I did, because I remember Jamie. Jamie was super nice.
Super nice.
Super nice.
I mean, so.
And at that point, when he was super nice, he was skating by himself.
He skated by himself.
Yeah.
He wasn't skating with nobody. Oh, he was skating with my father.
Yeah, but that, when it come to our generational, he was skating by himself, and he was mean.
To me, he took my father. And like his rock out and his snap was better than my father, in my opinion. It was at the same level. Yeah. You know what I mean? But he just had an unorthodox style, but it was so smooth because he was able to combine all of those different styles and mesh them into one. Mm-hmm. And he was smooth, he was funky. You know, mm-hmm. he could do, remember Praise?
The Praise.
Remember Praise? We did the Praise joint. So he was just one of those guys that he just had an eye, and he had the ability to pick up very easy. Right. And so that and watching Trevette come down, you know, and watching them and that was the first female girl that I mean, wait, what's the other girl? She was real. I mean,
Gladys.
Not Gladys. I can't remember her name. God, she's a little short, slim girl. She was real nice too. And of course, you know, Annette.
Yeah.
All of them. They could roll too, but Trevette was just on a different level because she's from Baltimore. Right. Like, you don't see nobody skating from Baltimore like that. Right. Like, Baltimore had a totally different style. Right. But man, I was mesmerized watching her, and I just like, oh my God, this girl there, boy. I just was, oh man, that's a whole nother story. Yeah.
So Mr. Like is 88. That's a mean title right there. Mr. Like is 88.
88, baby.
All right, so I'm gonna let you speak, but I'm gonna give my little memory of back in those times, 88, 89.
Right.
So I recall me and you hanging out the night before, and we got up early one the next day, and you know me, I was really your best friend. You know, best sidekick. We come up together. We spent the night over each other's house together. I mean, we did a lot of things together back then. A lot of people may not know how close we are. We're still close, but we just got two separate lives.
That's right.
That's cool. You know,
that's right.
So we was up in the 88 Cherokee.
Oh man,
the red limited 88 Cherokee.
DJ D on the tag.
DJ D on the tags, man. That distinguished you right there.
Yeah.
So we rode up to the Mercedes-Benz dealership. Now I don't know where we was going. You just said, "Come on, man, we ride." Right? You may not remember this, but I think I do. So when we went in the and back then, let me go back. Back then in '88, you know, you might have the gold rope on, the gold chain, Super
herringbone. Yeah.
You had a little bit of all that. You were really repping '88.
Oh yeah.
In '88, that's
absolutely.
major. You repping '88 and '88, that was major. But we got it. Let's say we got into the dealership. You know, the salesman come out and he say, you know, can I help you? And we know browsing around. I know I was looking around. He said, you know, how much is that car right there on the showroom floor? Man may say, man, it's about 33,000. 33,000? Yeah, I want that. You know, they looking at us like we kids, and like we talking out the side of our neck.
Yeah.
You know, so after that conversation came about, you know, you sat in there with the people, and the next thing I know, we leaving out with, you know, I'm driving the Cherokee, you driving the Benz, and we probably took that joint straight to the system place. Yeah, you know, put that system in that thing, because you had the system in the Cherokee for sure. We gonna get to that. Yeah. We talk about like it's Mr. 80, you know, like it's 88, Mr. 88, right? So then we took that jump to the sound system spot, and you did the bands up just like you had the Cherokee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the false gate. Right. Those were the what you call it, the high end speakers and things.
Yeah, they were competition speakers.
Oh, competition.
Yeah, they were competition speakers. So those were the creme de la creme. They were the top line speakers.
Give me some little feedback or some memory or whatever, you know, because you missed the 88 and you repping Mr. 88 in 2020, 2021, and it got some significance to it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and I'll let you go into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me clarify what like it's 88 means. Like is 88 is a state of mind. Okay. And it's really the mindset and it's reflecting on the year that you might have had your best life. So it just so happened to be one of the years that I had the best life was 88. So what I mean by that is my interaction and fun with my friends, the culture, the things that we did. You know, we were getting money, we were doing things. We might not have been doing it the right way, but we was enjoying life. We were, even if we just got together and you know, we want to go get some jewelry. We want to go shopping. We want to go get something to eat. We want to sit in the house and chop it up. Right. You know, we were. It wasn't a competition. Right. You know what I mean? We enjoyed life to the fullest, and we was having fun. We was getting money, and we was able to do things that we wanted to do. We didn't have a worry in the world.
Still young. We were still young.
Yeah. We were doing dumb stuff like a lot of young kids do too. But the point is,
young, having fun, best year of your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and you can reflect on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So living today. Yeah, we're not in 88,
right? But
it's the frame of mind, the lifestyle, the things that I did, like you just described. I went to the dealership and bought the Benz off the showroom. Yeah, you know, that's like
outright though. That's
outright.
There wasn't no leasing.
Nah,
wasn't no financing or nothing.
Right outright. I bought the Cherokee like that. Right outright.
26,000.
Yeah. So, but my point is, when I got that stuff. I enjoyed it. I had good friends. Right. We hung out, man. We went to the go-go. We would go to the beach house. We would just do all kinds of stuff. We had a good time, right?
Yeah.
And
all the DC parties and
you know. Yeah. So when even though we're not obviously physically in 88, my mindset is like that. So what I'm doing now is instead of me buying the Benz, I'm buying some other car. You know, I'm buying other nice cars.
Right.
I'm still doing that. I'm still shopping. I still like to go with my friends and go eat. and I want to interact with people who are like-minded.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it could be a different year for you.
Yeah.
It might be 92. 92.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That might have been the year that you lived your best life.
Right.
And you might be like, I'm living like it's 92. So it's not necessarily people. Everybody wasn't a great year for 88.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
True.
Everybody wasn't a great year for them.
Right.
That was my year.
Right.
And I graduated that year too. You know what I mean? So, and then I see the music was slow back then. You know, that was when Fat Will was playing with Jump.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? See, that was my era, and I'm still like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still like that. So it's like 88 is me. You know, and if I go out and I'm listening to something in the deck, I'm listening to a slow pocket.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that was back in 88. So anyway, so it's kind of it's a state of mind for me.
Right.
And I'm doing it minus the negative stuff, the stupid stuff that I did. I'm taking the good out of that.
Right.
Which is applying it to my life now.
Which you're supposed to be. And then one thing that could be negative or can be viewed negative that I will ask you, I was like, do you remember even getting pulled over by the police back then?
Oh yeah.
You know, and we talk about 88. You know what I mean? So we young, we kids, we probably 18, 19, and we got harassed by the police on a number of occasions.
Oh man.
Now, us being older now, we can be able to explain to our kids. I don't know if your father did that to you, but we can explain to our kids that, hey, when the police pull you over, here's protocol, this is what you need to do.
That's right.
And I don't think that my father talked to me about it. I don't know if your father talked to me about it.
He did.
Yeah,
he did. Because that was, and that's one of the things I still practice today.
Okay.
You know, my dad told me, because I had those nice cars, I'm black, and I'm in a predominantly white city. Yeah. In Montgomery County. I'm living in Silver Spring. He said, "You're going to be looked at as if you're going to be profiled." So he told me when I got pulled over to put my hands out, stick them out the car, and you keep your hands out till the officer come over there.
Right.
And then every time you do something, you tell them. Right. So I have had that experience on multiple occasions by myself, with my friends. You know, we've had, you and I, you know, where we've gotten pulled over, you know, and we have to learn how to talk to the police, and there's certain behavior and conduct that you have to maintain when you're around the cops. So even though it was viewed as negative, but it's something that I learned that life is not going to be as easy as you think it is, being a black man. Okay, so and it's something that has kept me around. You know, because I could have gotten, or any of us could have gotten killed. You know, we could have gotten anything, beat up, jail
for whatever reason.
Yeah. So and it was a lot of, and back then it was a lot of corruption. Of course. With cops. Cops was taking people's money and taking their phones and taking their jewelry. You know, what you gonna do? Nothing you can do. So it was a lot of that going on. So that part, although it was viewed as it was negative, it was a negative part of that era. It was something that we learned. We learned to survive, and a lot of that has come from, you know, our upbringing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate, but yeah. And even today, like I said, I still I got pulled over in my SL.
Okay.
And I stuck my hands out.
Okay.
You know, and I don't think it's the profiling is, well, it's not as prevalent as it was back then, but it's still there.
Yeah, it's still in their mindset.
It's still a state of mind.
To pull a car over. Yeah. That they suspect whatever. You know
Yeah. So it was. It was definitely a memory, but it was a memory that I learned a lot from it, and I still apply it. It was an experience that I was unfortunate to get, but it was fortunate because I'm able to learn from it.
Right. And that's glad that was great that you had a father that inspired you and basically instilled a whole lot in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's major. You know.
Yeah.
So
He
things
was a
that he
big
taught you
support.
from the things that he taught you from young, and you probably, I'm almost certain you still listen to him to this day. You know what I'm saying? Father's advice. Without a doubt. You run things, cross them and everything.
All the time. I got
you can't beat the experience.
I got to run stuff by pop.
You can't beat it. You can't beat the experience. And I teach my sons the same thing. You know what I'm saying? From my youngest son to my oldest son. And you can't beat the experience. So you gotta run things across your parents, you know what I mean? Especially your dad. If you're a male, you want to run across another male, especially your father, with experience and things of that nature. Yeah. So, question for you. When did you develop the love for go-go? Because we're going to get into the go-go scene. I heard you a minute ago talking about Will and that pocket, and that Will was a drummer for Junkyard Band, the Junkyard Band. So when did you have, I know we talked about,
Man, go-go, go-go's been a part of, it's the culture in the DMV.
Right.
But I really got into go-go. Really, there was there used to be a band. They used to perform in Kenilworth back when I was a kid called Petworth.
Okay, Petworth Band and Show.
Petworth Band.
Yeah.
And I used to. That's when I first got my experience of a go-go band.
Okay. Outdoors.
They used to play on the basketball court.
Okay.
In Kenilworth.
Mm-hmm.
So Petworth used to play out there, and it was a couple other bands, but they were one of the bands used to play out there. And so that was my first experience. But I think I really started getting into go-go. Was one day I was going to the record shop in DuPont Circle.
Okay, that's still there too.
No,
it's not. Okay. I
There was a record shop in DuPont Circle, and I got off the subway. No, did I get off the subway? I think I was getting off the subway, and was walking to the record store, and this group of guys were playing in front of the subway. And it was Junkyard.
Oh, you experienced that?
Yeah, they were playing. I was like, who these boys? And they was cranking.
Wow.
And they was playing at the subway, and they had the bucket.
The
cans and the buckets, and then, man, the white folks out there dancing. They just had a little show out there, and then they had the little bucket that you would put your money in and
tips.
Yeah, and they had and they said our record comes out, called Sardines. It's about to come out on Def Jam and this and that. I'm like, y'all playing in front of a subway? Y'all got a record out? But anyway, I ended up getting that song. I got it through my record pool.
Okay.
And I got hooked on that song, and then I started going to the Go-Go's, and that's really when that was probably around 87, around 87, 86, 87. I started going to the Go-Go's, and then I remember y'all had a Go-Go band.
Oh yeah.
Y'all had a Go-Go band. I forgot the name of y'all band. Y'all had
OP Connection.
OP Connection. I remember
Pacific.
That band. Ocean Pacific. I remember that. So at the OP, you played the drums.
Yeah,
but,
that's crazy. That was 83.
Yeah. So,
84, 85.
but really, I started liking go-go when around 86, 87.
Right.
And I think that's when you had, when Chuck Brown was playing, and he was playing it kind of a jazzy type go-go.
Chuck,
Chuck didn't play like Rare Essence and some of the other bands out there, Class and all that.
He had his distinct sound.
He had a distinct sound, and I started listening to Chuck Brown.
Right.
But the band, there was two bands that really got me in the go-go hard. One was Lil Benny and the Masters.
Okay.
So when Benny left Essence and started his own band, Benny kind of took he took go-go and he kind of did it similar. He mixed it. He mixed some of Essence, but then he took Chuck because he was a trumpet player. So right. he had and then
rest in peace, Lil Benny. Yeah.
Rest in peace. That's my man. So I started to go see Lil Benny at the Metro Club.
Okay.
And everybody else was on Essence.
Yeah.
Everybody was go see Red Essence on Thursdays at the Metro Club. You know, but I didn't like Red Essence because they played too fast. You know, they played too fast. This was too rowdy for me. I was one of the few people that didn't like Red Essence. Right. But Lil Benny was smooth. He was jazzy. He was real jazzy. So I used to go see Lil Benny on Wednesdays at Metro Club. That was my first, you know, kind of induction into, like, I wouldn't say induction, but this kind of my first time really getting heavy into go-go when I was going to see Lil Benny. And I would get the PA tapes. You know, get the PA tapes and then at that time Junkyard was starting to become popular. Okay, and then they went from the subway, now they playing at the go-go.
With Lil Benny and
I would go see Junk at Cherries and at the Black Hole. And now you're talking 87, 80, and then Junk played slow. All their music was a slow pocket. Everything was in the pocket. Yeah. They didn't play like Essence. Everything was in the pocket because Will, which is the drummer. Right. He was the nucleus. He, Wink and all them. But he was the tempo. Yeah. And he was just he had such. He just took over. He was the main piece of that band. Right. Of course, Bugs. But when it comes to the music, he drove that sound. And when I used to go see Junkyard and at Cherries and at the Black Hole, and I just got hooked on that sound, that pocket, and that's when I really started, getting into go-go really hard.
So was it the music for you, or was it the atmosphere as far as being around the crowds and things of that nature when it comes to the go-go's?
Actually, it was the music.
The music, okay.
Because remember, my DNA is music.
Yeah, background. Yeah.
So when I would go see Lil Benny, there wasn't a lot of people there because everybody was going to see Essence.
Right. So
Lil Benny would have an intimate crowd, but I didn't care.
Right.
I wanted to hear the music.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, when Junkyard performed, it was crowded. But see, even when Junkyard performed, they were opening up for the big bands. So it wasn't packed even when they would perform. Like when they would go up to Black Hole, they would open up for Essence.
Yeah.
So nobody wouldn't get there until Essence got there.
Yeah.
But I would go there to see Junk.
Right.
You know what I mean? So at that point,
and you follow Junk. We
follow Junk.
Bowling Green.
We would jump in the truck, go out to the go-go.
Yeah.
And I really started. 86, 87 was my, and then of course 88 was really it. But
so where was that at when we used to go way down? Was that Bowling Green or it was a big old field, and they had about 8 bands that day, that night, and I forgot. Evans Grill. Was that Evans?
No, that wasn't Evans Grill. You talking about?
What was that? We used to go down there in the daytime. By the time we would leave there,
that
field was.
It was a big open field. It was past water. It was just somewhere near water, Brandywine. It was past Brandywine, but it was an open field. I can't think of it right now, but no, it wasn't Bowling Green. It wasn't Bowling Green. We didn't go to Bowling Green. We went to Evans Grill, but we would go to Annapolis too.
Okay.
We would go out to Annapolis. I can't remember. Oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know you're talking about.
Come back.
But back then that was like 88.
Yeah.
And we was going. Yeah.
You traveling for that go-go scene.
Yeah, we was doing it, man. I mean, that was my thing. We would sometimes go to Cherries, and then as soon as they leave Cherries, you go out.
Yeah.
You go out Prince Frederick, you know, and go follow them out there.
Follow the go-go bands.
They follow the go-go bands. That's when, I mean, that was the thing.
Right.
You know, back then, and getting the fresh PA tapes.
Chasing the PA.
Chasing the PA tape, baby. But you had the system. You had to play the system. And you remember after the skating rink over at Crystals, remember Mad Tech and all them used to be out there with the systems.
Everybody had systems.
Everybody had systems.
Yeah. And they had that jump and that go-go playing.
Southeast kept jump on.
Oh man.
Yeah, the East kept jump. I mean, that was just what it was.
They were repping. They was
repping. Yeah, I mean, they of course love Essence, but Southeast kept junk in the deck.
Right. So being around the DC life as far as, you know, go-go scene and all of that stuff. So did that like inspire you to getting into promoting parties and things yourself? Because I know at one point you started, you know, doing your own thing.
Yeah, it kind of. I actually wanted to get into event production.
Okay.
And I started, you know, I saw Positive Black Men Coalition and some of these guys, you know, promoting nice events, and it just inspired me to want to do it myself. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I really like these type of events, and so being as though I had connections and I knew people with the go-go bands, I said, well, let me use that as my basis to start doing production, and I started a promotional production company called D Productions.
D Productions.
D Productions. Okay. And I started with the go-go bands, and my first event was, well, I don't know if it was an event, but it used to be I don't know if it was a hall called Luke's. It was on
St. Luke's. That was the
St. Luke's
church.
Church.
Yeah.
And I had
Benner Road.
Yeah, Benner Road. That was my first event, and I did the video shoot for Stinky Dinks, One Track Mind.
One Track Mind. We're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. Stinky Dink, One Track Mind.
Yeah. So, but my first go-go event was I had taken a different approach. I didn't want to have a go-go band at the regular venues that they always play at.
Right.
So I went to what was it called? What's the amusement park in
Wild World?
Wild World.
Wild World. Yeah, what is it called now? It's a Great Adventure, Six Flags.
Six Flags.
Yeah.
So I went to Six Flags, and I rented out the pavilion at Six Flags. So no go-go band had ever played there, and so that was, I wanted to be unique with the production. Yeah. So I ended up hiring Subtle Thoughts to perform at Six Flags. And that was back in 2000.
Okay.
And I had got a lot of love from people. I mean, because back then, you know, there wasn't social media, so you had to sell tickets and
flyers.
You had to go to the local T-shirt shops, and they would sell the tickets for you, and you know, you had to do the radio and all that. So that was, you know, when I first got started doing my D production, I started off doing the go-go bands, and I did Six Flags. I ended up doing some events at Union Station. So that was a unique venue.
I forgot about that.
Remember Union Station?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I had Subtle Thoughts there. I had them at Union Station. I did the Sports and Learning Complex.
What's Sports and Learning?
Prince George's Sports and Learning. I had a pool party.
Pool party. Okay.
So I had the Sports and Learning Complex. I did there. Okay. And then I did an event which was very successful. I did the Marriott in Atlantic City.
Okay, I remember
so
that.
At this time,
02.
Yeah. So at this time,
the production was taking off.
And Roland, you know, Roland had become a partner of mine. He was like a silent partner, but he was a partner of mine, and we started doing parties together.
Okay.
And So yeah, I did that from 2000 to 2006. Mm-hmm. My last event was at the Nat Stadium.
Nat Stadium, but don't skip over the RFK Stadium. You did that too, right?
I do RFK.
Okay, you never did RFK.
No, I did Nat Stadium.
Nat Stadium. So you were one of the first ones to do Nat Stadium then.
I was the first.
The first.
So I
National Stadium.
National Stadium.
Washington D.C. Then.
Yeah, I was the first to do a go there, and then the following week, Tricky Entertainment did their event.
Okay.
So I just beat them by a week. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my run, and then I did. I started off doing the Go-Go's, and then I tried to step up and do some national acts, mm-hmm. and then I did Yolanda Adams at the Strathmore.
Strathmore, yeah.
You know, I had Yolanda Adams there, and then I had Kendrick, the Family Soul at the Lincoln Theater. So I did some national acts. Right. But that was, around 2004, 2005.
Deep production,
baby.
Well, that's what's up. All right.
Yeah.
So Studio Blue, and this is where we're at right now. We're in Studio Blue. This may not be the original Studio Blue.
No, not the original.
But all the equipment in here is a lot of the original.
Some of it is. Yeah, some of it is. Yeah. Some of it is.
Studio Blue meant a lot to you.
Yeah. Studio Blue.
DJ D mixtape. Right? So we're gonna get into the mixtape. So question for you about your favorite rap artists, because we talked about Go-Go. So I want to know, do you have past or present maybe a top 5 rap artists or rap group?
My favorite rap artist of all time is Scarface. So that's my man. Now Scarface is not the best rapper.
Yeah.
He's just my favorite rapper.
I got you.
You know what I mean? I'm not going. He's not a KRS-One or
right.
Rakim.
Right.
But they got different styles.
Of course. He was in the South.
Yeah, he's Texas. Yeah.
Right.
Texas. Scarface, just his deliverance, the style of rap he did, the music, all of that. Mm-hmm. So Scarface is my favorite. My favorite rapper. If I had to, my top 5. You talking about of all time?
Past or present. I mean, you might like somebody new, and say, who are you listening to now?
Yeah. I mean, So it's gotta be Face.
Okay.
Jeezy.
Young Jeezy.
So Jeezy, he's definitely in the top 5. Mm-hmm. But in terms of, I think some of my overall favorites. Got to put KRS-One in there. Mm-hmm. I would probably say KRS-One, Rakim, definitely like Rakim. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I can get a 5th one in there.
It's hard.
It's hard. It's so many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But those were my go-tos.
Yeah.
Go back in the day. I was KRS-One. I was Face. And then Jeezy's kind of even though he's not really today, but he's probably 90s. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I would probably say those 4 are my top.
So what went into a lot of your mixtapes when you were making your mixtapes? Yeah. And it took from what I remember, it took you weeks and weeks, and you would work on something and you would get it perfect before you release it.
Yeah. It was like surgery.
Right.
When I would make mixtapes. But the reason why my mixtapes took so long, and because of the level of detail that I put in them, was a little different than your average DJ making mixtapes. So one of the first things that I did was because of my love of skating music, the type of style of music that we skated to was kind of, they call it progressive jazz.
Okay.
So it's kind of what they call neo soul today.
Okay.
So it's kind of R&B jazz mix. Mm-hmm. So, and because I was a skate rink DJ, and when we skated, we used to pitch the songs down.
Okay.
Because when we skated, we didn't want to skate. DC skating wasn't. We didn't skate fast. We didn't skate up tempo. So we took a lot of songs and we slowed them down.
Right.
Right. So I took that style, from the skating rink, slowing music down, and then I combined it with like the hardcore. We call it hardcore music, which was underground rap music, like the Scarfaces and your NWAs and all that.
Your UGKs.
UGK and all that. So what I would do is you take the music from the skating rink. So I might take a Barry White, or James Brown, or some skating song, some smooth skating song, and I would blend it with some Scarface or some UGK or something like that, and it would take me some time to combine those
that sound
the
critique sound that you was
right. And when I started doing that, I would take I took Compton's Most Wanted and I mixed it with Maze, Happy Feelings and stuff like that, and I would mix these songs together, and people started buying my tapes that smoked weed. They called it cess back then. Cess bud smokers. So, and they liked the music because it was gangster, but it was smooth. It was slow. It was slow because they would hear the song on a CD or a tape, and they would hear it on my mixtape, and it would be slow.
Totally different.
And they gravitated to that. They said, "How you do that?" And I ended up getting a clientele because of that. So a lot of street clientele, a lot of the guys off the streets, because they out there hustling, they out there smoking, chilling, drinking, and they used to like to, bump off my, drink off my mixtapes.
Yeah, ride music. It was a lot of ride. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but
to name a few of the ones that were buying the tapes from you back then, you got any good names you want to drop?
Well, actually, one of the catalysts, one of the main guys that started buying my mixtapes was Corey.
Okay.
So Corey, as you know, he from the East, a real good friend of mine.
C Music.
Corey was sort of the nucleus of getting my mixtapes out over in Southeast.
Yeah.
And then I would probably say even you, because you had Kelvin and T's and all.
Yeah, that neighborhood.
The 18th Street. I had the whole 18th Street buying mixtapes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they was buying them, and then you had one of my go-tos was my man Skinny Man. He was uptown, so he was a street dude, and he used to buy a lot of my mixtapes. And then his brothers, and then all they called it the Hill. They was all buying my mixtapes. Tony Merck and my man DJ. You know what I mean? And
you even had Eddie Vance and them buying you.
Yeah, I had Eddie Vance. He was one of my noticed. Gold Chain, Fresh Gear Boo. They was buying my mixtapes. So I had a really good. Like I said, a street clientele, but they liked it because it just was. It was mellow. It was gangster, but it was all mellow and all in one. And they used to, Texas had a similar, I wouldn't say a similar style, but they had a slow style called chop and screw. But it was a different slow.
That came after. Later, yeah.
That came after mine. I call mine cesspool mode.
Right.
Okay, well I slowed stuff down. So that style of mixtapes became very popular in the DC area, but like I say, mainly amongst the dudes in the street.
Right. So I know this kind of was before Master P and them, because a lot of them was selling CDs out of their trunk.
Oh no, I was doing cassettes.
Yeah, you was doing cassettes before CDs even came in.
Cassettes, yeah. And I was selling cassettes for $20. Easy. I was back in the '80s. I'm selling cassettes for $20. That cost more than a record.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was you was taking pre-orders and all that back then.
Yeah. So it was and that was a good market for me because I was making money. I was making good money.
Yeah.
I remember, and one of my famous mixes was when I mixed Michael Jackson, Human Nature with Dougie Fresh. And I remember when I did that mix and I put that on the CD. Oh no, actually I mixed it. I did a mixtape with I did Dougie Fresh and I did Eric Clapton.
Okay.
So it was this dude around the East, Lil Phil. You know Lil Phil?
Lil Phil, he home now. He home.
Yeah. I'll say Lil Phil.
Oh yeah, he ready.
So Lil Phil, I saw Lil Phil over at DJB. Lil Phil had just bought the 350Z. Him and I forgot his other man.
Steve.
Not Steve. He moved to Atlanta. He back here now. I can't think of his name, but anyway, so Lil Phil he had just got the joint, and he was like, "D, what you got? What you got? I know you got something in there. I know you got a mixtape in there." I said, "Come on, man, this my only one."
Yeah.
He said, "Nah, Slim, this my only one." He said, "Let me hear it." And I put the joint on. I put it on. It was Eric Clapton and
MJ.
Dougie Fresh.
Dougie
It was
Fresh.
off the Go-Go joint.
Yeah.
Man, he went to the deck. He pushed the eject, threw $50 on my.
Yeah.
Threw $50 on my seat and left.
He had to have it.
He had to have it. He was like, "Nah, Slim, he go 50. I gotta go."
He had to have
it. He had the only one. He gave me 50 for that thing. But yeah, so the mixtapes was a real good. They were something that I really enjoyed doing, and I had a very unique style, unlike most of the DJs that were making mixtapes. You had DJ Cool and DJ Maniac McLeod. All these are DJs in DC.
Okay.
You know, that were popular back then, but they were doing club stuff, go and club
music.
Yeah, club music.
Right.
I was the only one doing gangster music and doing this slow.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it became a real unique style here, and to this day, people still want me to, do mixtapes. But
it was cranky.
It took a lot of time to do those because, again, back when I was making mixtapes, you didn't have the software and the technology
that you have now.
Yeah, so I had to literally, I'm doing things by hand, by ear. I don't have any software to do any editing.
Right.
So just like, I would have to do a retake if I messed the mix up.
All over. Yeah.
I got to start all over.
You could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes in it.
Yep. I wouldn't cut the whole, I would have to edit the tape.
Okay.
So I would I would pause it. So it was a lot of production involved with making those mixtapes to make them right. And then once I perfected it, I started getting better at it. But then the other piece that I added to the mixtapes,
the bonus.
The tracks.
I was about to say that you put bonuses at
I would
the
say,
beginning. In the middle or the end. You add the bonuses.
Yeah. So people
DJ D exclusives.
I would add exclusives. And on those exclusives, I would make a track, and I would have different rappers come into the studio, kind of like what DJ Khaled and all them doing now. But I was doing it back then. They would come in the Studio Blue. Yeah. And so I would do one with Stinky Dink. I would do one with Kato. I've actually had P.O.P. I actually had one day. I had Chucky Thompson come in Studio Blue, and we did a little jam session, a little mixed, a little track. Right. But people started gravitating to that because they was like, they like the music, and then you got the local, everybody wanted their local artists, from their rep their neighborhood to be on the mixtape. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So with the Cess Mode and combining the skate style music with the gangster and then adding exclusive tracks, it became, a big success in the city.
Right. So, Soldiers at War, that was a part of the rap group, or that you were in?
Yeah, Soldiers at War was a group that comprised of myself, Eric Marbury, Kenyatta,
Black Kenyatta,
mm-hmm. and Dink, and who was the Stinky Dink, who was the main rapper, and then Kato,
and then you
and me, and I was the DJ.
Right.
Yeah.
Soldiers at War had y'all had a couple shows that y'all did that you recorded.
Yeah, we did the Kilimanjaro, and that was probably one of the. That was actually our first show, I think. That was a show that Corey had put together.
Okay.
And that was up in the uptown part of DC.
Mm-hmm.
We did a show there, and we did the Calabash, which is no longer existing, which is on 14th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did a couple of parties, but most of our stuff was studio.
Right.
Soldiers at War wasn't a group that we weren't doing any parties back then.
Right.
We would do private parties.
Right.
But Soldiers at War we were in the studio just jam sessions. Yeah, make all my tracks.
Studio Blue.
Yeah. I mean, we were able to, when Dink made the song. Well, we did the demo. We were in the studio and we did One Track Mind.
Right.
That was sort of the catalyst, but that catapulted us to start doing big shows because once Dink got the record deal from the one and did the One Track Mind, then we were still Soldiers at War, but it was really Dink.
Right.
Because it was he was the artist.
Right.
And then we were able to do shows. We performed with Ghetto Boys. We performed at the Capitol Center when it was the Capitol Center. We performed there. We performed at Norfolk State University, Alabama. We was performing all over the country.
Right.
We did that probably for a good 3 years, like 92 to 95.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So at one point was any record labels looking at you? Because at that point you might well call yourself a music producer.
I didn't have any record labels looking at me, but we had a family friend who was an attorney.
Okay.
Her name is Amy Goldson.
Okay.
And Amy she had a lot of friends in the music industry. So she, used to hear my music and my tracks and stuff, and she would shop my music around, and she was trying to get me a deal, but nothing ever panned out with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did, obviously I did the music for Dink, the One Track Mind.
Mm-hmm.
I did a demo for Tanya, Nonchalant.
Okay.
Which we skate off today. A lot of people don't know.
No, and she used to skate, but
she used to skate. Yeah,
DC
so I did a demo for her, but she didn't do anything with it.
Okay.
But yeah, I had a lot of people in my ear that would tell me, "Dang, you ahead of your time. Why don't you go, do some production and and this and that." But when I was doing it just with the One Track Mind and just doing the studio stuff with the jam sessions, it took a lot of work. I enjoyed it, but I did it on my own time.
Right.
And I just felt like if I made it a career, it would have taken the love away. Because I would have been on a time constraint because I'm being paid to do production.
Right.
So I didn't gravitate to making music production as a career.
Right.
I just wanted to just do it at my own time and when I felt like doing it, my own convenience, and I don't regret that. I'm good with that. If I would have got an opportunity, a lottery type ticket deal, then maybe I would have took it. But I wasn't looking for it though.
Right.
So, nah.
You still make music today?
Nah, I haven't made any music. It's been years since I made music.
So you telling me some of the times I may hear you on Instagram or Facebook and you got something playing in the back? You telling me that's old too?
Oh, I got a lot in the library that I don't
never release.
I never released. and occasionally I'll play some at the skating rink when I DJ, but most of the tracks that I have made go back 20 years, easy. But because the music is, the music in those tracks are, I think they were just so far ahead of their time. I typically, when I do play my tracks, people think it's something new. They think it's something that was made today.
Right. And that's you DJing at the skate ring.
When I played at the skate, because that's the only place that I play publicly anymore. So, but no, I don't make any tracks. I guess, I'm an analog guy. I'm old school, so a lot of this, the DATs and ADATs and all that. And I like the analog board. This is an analog board. I'm not into the software, the reasons and all this other stuff they got out. I need to do it. I need to learn it. I need to learn it because it makes life a lot easier to make a track. You can make a track in 15 minutes now. Versus when I was doing it, it may took a full day or a few days to make a track. Okay. So, but the difference though, is that when I made a track, and that the sound is different. Because see, when you're the depth of a song, the character of a song is a lot. It has a lot more depth in an analog sound than a digital sound. Okay. And that. I like the sound of analog. Okay. It's a more richer sound, and it has more depth to it. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna learn it, but I gotta adjust to this digiral sound. I'm an analog type of dude. You know what I'm saying? So
you got time.
I got time. I've graduated to from turntables to the Serato. I'll do that, but I haven't. And of course the doing it on a laptop, but that's as far as I've got.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
These young cats got all that stuff now, man. They all these young cats making mixtapes now, so and making tracks.
Right, as they say, tracks.
Yeah. So that's good. I'm just let these cats do what they do.
That's good. You can jump back in. Anytime you feel.
Yeah, if I might do something here and there, but I'm kind of retired from.
Yeah, you surrounded around. Yeah.
I just do what I do, and if try to just let these young DJs and these young producers do what they do, because they doing an excellent job. Yeah, that's cool. What I mean? I'm very impressed with some of the stuff that I hear.
That's cool. I look at it. All right, here comes the $1 million question. What does DJ D, Mr. Derrick Stoutamire, do for a living? Let me slow down. I'm gonna stop you real a question, because I told my son about you. Yeah. And I said, yeah, man, my guy. He said, well, I tried to explain the fiber optic thing with him and all of that, and I told him really, at his age, being 10 years old, this 5G and all this technology and all of that stuff, we didn't have that, when we were teenagers and things. Yeah. And though I'm gonna let you get into it, so I was trying to explain exactly what you do.
Yeah. Well, kind of high level. My trade name is called a systems engineer. So, I would try to break it down in more layman's terms. So, if you have a building, you have an architect that actually draws the building. Okay. You have the electrical engineer that designs all the power in the building, the lights and plugs and all that stuff. Right. Okay. I'm the engineer that's going to design all the technology in the building. Okay. So, you got a school, for example. I'm going to design all of the Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi signals and the equipment that's used for your internet. Right. I'm going to design the outlets, the workstations, the connections, the telephone jacks and data jacks that you see in your walls.
Right.
Okay, I designed the structured cabling systems for the equipment for those IT systems. Okay, so that's essentially what I do. I design structured cabling systems for technology equipment, and that can be your internet, that can be your Wi-Fi, that can be your cable television, and the structured cabling systems I design. One of them is called fiber optics. Okay.
So how did you get your start in even dealing with fiber optics?
That started for me back in 1994.
Okay.
I went to a telecommunications school. I had just came home from my first prison.
Vacation?
Yeah, vacation. And they had a telecommunications program right on Martin Luther King Avenue.
Okay.
And they offered a class. They were teaching telephony, which is your analog telephones, and fiber optic theory, which is it was an introduction because fiber optics was not really wasn't used at all back then.
You're right.
So I took that class, and I paid $50 for that class.
$50
a month, $50 for the whole class.
Wow.
But again, no one. It was not a recognized field at that time.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's where I learned fiber optics, and then once I graduated from that school, I had got my first job as a fiber optic technician.
Okay.
So I was able to splice fiber.
Okay.
You know, fiber is glass. So and it uses light to transmit data. So I was, I started doing fiber splicing and fiber terminations and stuff like that, but it was for government.
Oh.
They were doing their government military type of data transmission.
Okay.
So, and then I transitioned from doing fiber optic splicing to actually doing project management, and then I got into designing systems roughly around 2001, 2002.
Okay.
And then I started designing then probably about 10 years, and then in 2013 I took a test for a credential called an RCDD, which stands for Registered Communications Distribution Designer, and this is a credential that is held by IT design engineers that are used in architect and engineering firms to do designs for multi-million-dollar systems. And that credential is only held by a select few people in the world. So anyway,
it's major.
It's real major. So that was a huge turn in my life where when I failed the test twice. It took me I've studied for 6 months, and I failed it. I took it again, failed it, and then on the third time I passed it.
Okay.
And that was the life-changing moment for me once I received my RCDD. And once I did that, I started working for about 2 or 3 architect and engineering firms. And then in 2017, actually 2015, I started my consulting business. And then 2017 is when I quit my job and I went full-time.
For yourself.
For myself.
Yeah, work for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So that this career choice that afforded you to travel the world like we was talking earlier.
Yeah.
And even business and pleasure.
Yeah.
For business
absolutely.
and pleasure.
Yeah.
Thus why we sit here now, because we interviewing and sitting down talking to an international hoodlum. When I first heard that terminology and I saw my man sitting on you know, so some planes and some seats on the plane, and you know, you hey, and that was a great what you call description of what you were doing. You come from, like you said, from Kenilworth all the way up to traveling and seeing the world, you know, and you're doing both. You know,
well, international hoodlum is, I label myself that because when I travel, I'm not your typical tourist when I travel. You know, when you go to a country, most people they're gonna go to the tourist attractions.
Yeah.
Okay, where when I would travel, instead of going to the tourist attractions, I want to go to where the locals eat. I want to go to I'm going in the hood. So I want to go to the restaurants, the bars, the cafes, and I want to buy and talk and interact with the people that's local to the area. It's like if you came to DC, you're not going to go to the monument. You can go over on Martin Luther King Avenue, you know, and go, you know, or go to Good Road Carryout and eat, you know, if you're a tourist, and interact with the people in the actual city. Right. So that's why I call myself the because I went to the hood. Right. I could be in Montevideo, you know, Uruguay, and I would be in their hood. Dang. I went to the clubs there, you know, I'm partying, I'm interacting with the local people. So that's why I call myself the International Hoodlum, because I'm not a tourist. I'm not your average tourist. I'm gonna go to these places and I'm you know, I'm gonna do more. I'm gonna have fun. Yeah. But I'm going to the hood. You know, I want to go where the locals eat. That's what's up. And where the locals shop and stuff like that. So that's where that international. But it comes from me being, you know, having an upbringing in Kenilworth in the hood. Right. So I want to see that. I want to see everybody's hood if I can. That's part of the experience of traveling. Wow. Yeah. It's not just the touristy spots. Right. Because you'll be amazed at, you know, the talent, the poverty that I've seen. It's you know, and there are areas that are beautiful that are not widely publicized. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. So it's you know, so I like to, you know, venture out. So that's where that hood comes in. You know?
So I see that also, you know, your career, working for yourself and things of that nature, it allows you to treat yourself to the finer things in life. So just like you'd explain, you know, just going to the, not the tourist spots, but the hood, the hoodlums, or the hood places all over the world. Yeah. So the finer things in life that I know you to have, and it ain't even now, it's even back then, you know, you like nice cars, nice homes. If you travel, you know, you want to stay in the best hotels, restaurants, things of that nature. Right, yeah. You know, and you can, you deserve that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, ain't nobody gonna treat yourself better than you.
Not at all. Not at all. No, I work hard for mine, and I think, you know, I think you know, when you work hard, and you know, a lot of people don't know my struggle. You know, from, you know, going to prison, coming home a convicted felon. A lot of people, you know, experiencing, you know, rejection. You know, you can't get a job. You know, you can't be around people who are a convicted felon. I mean, you got to live on a tightrope because you're on 4 or 5 years probation. Yeah. It took a lot of sweat. It took a lot of struggle. It took a lot of perseverance for me to, a lot of crying, a lot of, you know, it took a lot that I went through to get where I'm at. And because I feel like I've struggled and I persevered and I didn't let any of that deter me.
From succeeding. Right.
From succeeding. Although I've been blessed, God has blessed me, financially. But I don't ever want to forget where I came from.
Right.
And again, that's another reason why I go to the hood. I don't want to feel like I'm just, that life is just about affluence.
Right.
Because it's not.
Right.
And for me, but the other side of that is, I like living a good life too.
Yeah.
I like the finer things in life.
Of course.
And I don't have any kids either. So I can do a lot of things that a lot of my friends and people who work just as hard as me, they may not be able to do, because they got a family, they got a wife, they got other responsibilities. Yeah. So for me, I'm able to do probably a little more than a lot of people that's my peers, because I don't have any kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I treat myself. You know what I mean? And so exactly. So and when I do that, I want to, I got my big boy toys, and and I like to travel, and that's what I do. And I'm gonna continue to do that as long as I can, and until I don't want to do it no more. But I like being a boss.
You said till I don't want to do it no more.
I don't want to do it no more. And there's nothing wrong with being a boss. There's nothing wrong with doing, enjoying the finer things in life. Yeah. If you worked hard and you have persevered and you deserve it, then brother or sister, do what you do. Live like it's 88, baby. That's what it's all about. Enjoying life.
Enjoying life.
Yeah.
So we're going to come to a close, man. And I thank you, my man, DJ D, for being here on WEETV.
Absolutely.
And,
anything to support, baby boy.
That's what's going on, man. So where could the WEETV viewers find you on social media if they want to check you out?
Well, you can find just my name, Derrick Stoutamire. I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Derrick Stoutamire.
Derrick Stoutamire. So I'm gonna let you spell it. I mean, you can try to figure it out. So yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. That's it. If someone wants to reach out to me, DM me, send me a message.
Right.
Any questions I can answer, any inspiration,
mentor,
anything I can do to help you.
Right.
Let me know.
I think this interview is going to help a lot of people. I really think so.
I hope so. Anything I can do to help, man. And your platform here is as a means to do it.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? So I'm with it, man.
All right, WEETV.
Yes, sir.
We out.
Yes, sir.
That's a great session, man.